everyone. I just want to take a few minutes to share with you a new feature we've incorporated into TimeKeeper, allowing supervisors to revise closed timesheets. So in my example here, I have a few timesheets from an employee that have already been submitted to payroll, so they are marked as closed, which prior to this update would forbid me from making any kind of changes on these sheets. However, with TimeKeeper version 1.15.3, we can now revise these timesheets. So the way that this mechanism works is if I open the timesheet, I have a menu option here to mark it for revision. So once I put it into that revised state, I can resume making changes to the timesheet. Now, most times in TimeKeeper, when you edit and manipulate timesheets, the information goes directly to the server in real time. But in this case, it's actually going to be stored locally on the client. So I will have to submit the revision in order for these changes to take place onto the server, which is a little different than most TimeKeeper applications. So once it's in revision mode, I can go ahead and I can click on an entry, and then I can make a simple change, like perhaps changing the location for a particular field, or maybe changing the activity, or I could even go as far as change the project. I can also adjust entries, so I can shrink this down to 6 hours. But when I do that, you'll notice that there's going to be an alert posted on the timesheet, just letting me know that this employee is now 2 hours short from what they were paid. I'll go ahead and rebalance out the sheet. We'll say that this employee actually had 2 hours on this circuit at the end of Thursday and then carried over into Friday. So now that ribbon goes away, everything balances out very nicely, and I can go ahead and submit the revision. Once the revision has been submitted, the timesheet will turn purple. So purple is just an indicator that this timesheet was revised since it was submitted to payroll. Now, if I go to a different timesheet, and let's say that this is a case where the employee's hours have actually changed, they called in after we processed payroll and reported that they did a little bit of work on Saturday. The employee is going to be unable to manipulate their timesheet, but a supervisor level user will still be able to put it into revision mode, and then they can add a new activity. So now we have the employee marked on working 8 hours on Saturday, and you can see that I have my needs attention. I have 8 overtime hours that need corrected, so I'll go ahead and assign these as overtime. And now you can see that there is still a notice about how I'm now over 8 hours. So the timesheet doesn't balance what was originally submitted to payroll. Now, I'm still able to submit this timesheet, but what will happen is any unbalanced timesheets will generate an email automatically. So if I click this Submit Revision button, then the timesheet has been submitted, it's been revised, it's in purple state, but an email will be automatically sent to the payroll department, so we can see what they actually receive. They receive an email notifying that this employee's timesheet for the week ending has been changed, and there's their new regular hours and their new overtime hours, so then payroll can make sure that the employee gets properly compensated. Any imbalances will generate this email, like if you had to reduce the hours, perhaps the employee worked on Saturday and they weren't approved for that work, or what have you. Any imbalance will automatically generate this email. You cannot stop this email from going out. The folks that will be CC'd on this email automatically would be the DRG timesheets, who will process and reconcile payroll for this. The cost center owner in this system, that's listed as Rob Dalton, as well as the supervisor who made the change, and then finally the employee themselves. So in this case, the employee received a copy of this notification. So that way they're aware of the change, and then there's a new revised timesheet that's also included. So this new mechanism should work pretty well. It'll allow you to make simple changes related to project descriptions or activities at the that you might discover during an invoicing process. But if you do need to make changes that involve employee compensation, there's safety checks and mechanisms in place to make sure that the proper people are notified, so we can be ensured that the employee will be compensated correctly. All right, everyone. Thanks for your time. I hope you found this helpful. Stay safe out there.